Hey Dan, big fan. Did you know that ZETTERBURN'S strong attacks send people twice as far if they're on fire? Hey Dan, big fan. Asymmetry is great and all, but what I greatly prefer is symmetry and knockback. That reminds me, did you know ZETTERBURN'S strong attacks send people twice as far if they're on fire? Hey Dan, big fan. I gotta tell ya, ZETTERBURN really gets me excited. Did you know that ZETTERBURN'S strong attacks send people twice as- Oh, fuck. Hi, and welcome to my foray into Rivals of Aether content. So, as a commentator in a lot of games, I've been meaning to post videos about other platform fighters here, but I wanted to make sure that the hardcore melee heads here didn't feel isolated by more variety content. I made a poll on my community tab a few weeks back, and lo and behold, Nala wins again. That's to be expected, but it seemed most of you were okay with me at least trying this over here. I want to do these videos for the whole cast, but if you guys could help me out by liking and subscribing if you enjoy this type of content, it would really help to just inform me that we're on the right track here. The first section of this will be more slanted towards beginners who may just want to know what character they should play, and later on we're going to get more into the nitty-gritty. Also, let me know what character I should do next. Anyway, today we'll be covering one of the flagship characters of Rivals of Aether, ZETTERBURN, the Fire's Roar. This video is sponsored by Flexispot. Flexispot has been a partner of this channel for over a year now, and they've made pretty amazing additions to my office space. The E4 height adjustable desk has been a staple for my office, offering me a huge desk space for editing as well as a sit-to-stand function for when I want to do my voiceovers. My workspace has honestly felt so much more healthy and efficient since receiving my Flexispot desk, and their brand new E6 desk is even better. It has a one-piece top made from bamboo, which looks nice, is easy to clean, and is rated for a ton of weight so you can fit a huge setup on here, like I did. Plus, there's a lot of different combinations for colorways for the stand and desktop so you can best match your home office space. These motorized desks also have a programmable keypad for sit-to-stand adjustments from 24.4 inches all the way to 50, so I have my buttons set up for sitting, standing, and a third height for my camera when I need to record. Full disclosure here, but Flexispot did give me these items for free, but I will say that this desk in particular was one on my list as I was shopping for new office upgrades. If you're not in the market for a desk though, they also offer ergonomic chairs at a relatively affordable price point. If you're interested, Flexispot is having a Black Friday sale with some solid discounts and offers, so it's a great time to make the jump if you're on the fence. And full transparency here as well as per usual, but that link in the description is an Amazon affiliate link, so if you check out the product through the link in my description and decide to order something for yourself, I'll get a small kickback, so thanks for that. I really do like Flexispot's products a lot, and if you're in the market for some new office gear, I really hope you consider picking something up for yourself. Thank you once again to Flexispot for supporting the channel, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. ZETTERBURN is the rushdown character of Rivals of Aether 2. He has a strong close range game, as well as a projectile that can be used to force approaches, edgeguard, or start combos. With grabs and shields added to Rivals of Aether 2, his shine and newly introduced throws allow for insane pressure sequences, combo starters, and KO confirms. Couple that with strong aerials and finishers, and you'll have no problem taking stocks. Common approaches and shield pressure sequences require a lot of inputs on this character, so your hands may hurt if you're not as familiar with platform fighters. But overall, ZETTERBURN's shield pressure, combo game, and punish are some of the strongest in the cast, but as a trade-off, his normals lack range and his recovery is rather slow and predictable. Before we get too deep into this as well, we should quickly talk about each character's thing. Every character in Rivals of Aether has a type of elemental power that synergizes in some way with their kit. For ZETTERBURN, his special moves, special pummel, and back air will set an opponent on fire for 5 seconds, which deals 1% per second, and reapplying the fire on a burning opponent will reset this timer. If ZETTERBURN lands a strong attack or a forward throw on a burning opponent, the flames will be consumed to deal extra damage and knockback, and it also adds extra hit pause time. Lastly, if ZETTERBURN gets parried, this debuff is removed. According to some Zetter mains, his matchup spread is actually pretty decent. He has a decent to good matchup against the majority of the cast, including Claren, Orcane, and Raster. He goes relatively even with Crag, Loxodont, Forestburn, and Maple, and he's at a slight to larger disadvantage against Fleet and Rano. Take these matchups with a grain of salt though. Like I've already alluded to, ZETTERBURN is a glass cannon, and he can take stocks from the entire cast just as easily as he can lose them. So matchups will vary depending on how you play neutral and advantage-disadvantage. ZETTERBURN has excellent KO moves that are quite good in frame data. Damage can rack up quickly with fast combos, and KOs can come incredibly early if the opponent is burned. His individual moves, with the exception of a hard read strong attack or maybe forward air, don't do a ton on their own though. ZETTERBURN's ground speed is fairly solid, and his aerials allow for flexible but safe buttons. While ZETTERBURN has strong hits across the board, he can suffer from being outranged by the rest of the cast. This of course plays into his strategy as a flexible rushdown character, and having a projectile does redeem this rating a little bit. ZETTERBURN's recovery, like the traditional space animal, is heavily exploitable and very gimpable. If you get caught off stage without resources, you may end up getting KO'd at extremely low percents. Zetter's weight can get him comboed pretty hard, but because he's akin to a Spacey, he can sometimes live to higher percents. Like I mentioned in recovery, he'll be most exploited in edgeguard. Overall, ZETTERBURN has some of the best shield pressure, approach, and KO conversions in the entire game, and you should take advantage of that for sure. ZETTERBURN'S decent ground speed, good keep away aerials, and projectile allow him to hold back sometimes, but more often than not, your best defense is even more offense. Overall, ZETTERBURN is a well-rounded character that's pretty easy to understand in terms of gameplay, making him a great choice for beginners. He's a rather simple character who translates most closely to a melee Fox, Falco, or Project Plus or Ultimate Wolf, and I believe a lot of players who might have come from those games will find a transition to ZETTERBURN relatively smooth. ZETTERBURN is the character for you if you enjoy combo-heavy characters, you like to play aggressive and make reads, and you love pressing buttons. Okay, so with that very abridged description out of the way, let's go over his hitboxes. Today's hitboxes and frame data are brought to you in part by rivalsframedata.com, as well as the Aether Studios official YouTube channel. You can check out both in the description. And by the way, if you've been enjoying my content and you've made it this far into the video, it would mean a lot to me if you subscribe. I work really hard on these videos, and a lot of people watch them without ever realizing that they aren't subscribed. Also, just as an insider, because this is my job, but doing a different game for a channel like mine is a bit of a risk in terms of the amount of time and effort that goes into each of my projects, so if you want to support me and help make more videos like these possible, I'd really appreciate it. If you did just subscribe, the good thing is you won't regret it, because now we're going to talk about some nerd stuff. So let's start with ZETTERBURN'S normals. ZETTERBURN'S jab is the pretty typical 3-hit combo we all know and love. The first 2 hits are single arm swipes, and the third being a bite. The first jab, which looks like this, has 3 hitboxes, is active for 2 frames starting on frame 4, and deals 4%. On a lot of characters, just like in general, this first jab is pretty small, and like most jab strings, the first hit will often keep the opponent relatively in place to set up for the second, which looks like this, and then the final hit. The second jab is pretty much identical to the first, having the same number of active frames and damage, and the third is a bite with 2 larger hitboxes. The final hit is active for 2 frames starting on frame 6 and deals 6%. So if you connect with all 3 jabs, they deal a total of 14%. This is pretty standard for jabs, it's very fast, and its second and third hits can be cancelled into tilt attacks. Overall, it does its job as being a fast and reliable 1-3 piece, as well as a good way to bait and punish parries. ZETTERBURN'S forward tilt is a solid follow-up option after landing an aerial. This move has 2 different sets of 3 hitboxes extending forward in a bit of a cone shape, where in both they're largest at ZETTERBURN'S claws. The first hitbox is active on frame 9 for only a single frame and is a bit smaller, but it holds a hit opponent inside to connect into the second set of hitboxes, which deal a combined 8%. If you only hit with the tip of ZETTERBURN'S claws, this move only hits for 4% and doesn't inflict a lot of knockback. Overall, this is a fine-ish spacing tool since it's pretty big and has little end lag, but that's about the extent of his range on his normals. Up tilt is one of Zetter's best combo starters, as it does a good amount of damage and can lead into nearly everything in his kit. It has 2 hitboxes that are active on frame 9 for 6 frames. The inner hitbox on ZETTERBURN'S arm hits for 6%, while the claw hitbox deals 7%. This move is basically just a combo starter and or anti-air move while on the ground, and it's fairly versatile since you can cancel into it from a jab string. Down tilt is kind of a spacing / setup tool for ZETTERBURN, where he swipes a claw downwards and the hit pops opponents up and away. It actually has 3 hitboxes, which look like this, and the outermost 2 deal 7%. There is a small hitbox on ZETTERBURN'S head as well, which hits for 5%. This move is active for 3 frames starting on frame 6. Dash attack, like the rest of Zetter's normals, is also a good combo move. It can sometimes combo into itself, it sets up for every tilt, and even confirms into KOs. This is, however, a pretty long button. It's active on frame 10, which doesn't include that you need to input this out of dash, so it can be pretty telegraphed and easily parried. This move once again has 3 hitboxes, which look like this, and it deals less damage the further you are from Zetter's body. 6% when close, down to 4% if tipped. So now let's talk about ZETTERBURN'S strong attacks, which are some of the best finishers in the game. Up strong is one of the finishers of choice for ZETTERBURN on burned opponents. It has 6 mandatory frames of pre-charge, then like all strong attacks in the game, you can decide to hold the charge for up to 1 second, and after that there are 3 more startup frames before the move becomes active. If you just let it rip, this means its first active frame is on frame 10, it's active for 5 frames, and it deals 12%. On burned opponents, this move deals an additional 8% and has higher knockback. Upstrong has 3 hitboxes that look like this, going from his body all the way to his claws, and like I said before, it converts as a finisher off of honestly a lot. Shine can set up into a wave dash Upstrong, and the Gatling combo is where you cancel a dash attack on hit with an Upstrong. This move is very good, and with conversions off of seemingly his entire kit, it can sometimes net you really early KOs, especially on burned opponents. Down Strong is a sweeping attack that hits on both sides of ZETTERBURN. Both hits have 3 hitboxes apiece extending from each of ZETTERBURN'S arms. The first hit comes out on frame 6, deals 4% and is active for 2 frames, and the second hit is active for a single frame on frame 14 and deals 6%. The weaker back hit will carry opponents into the stronger front hit, and of course on burned opponents this total damage goes up by about 8% with greater knockback. This is a very good tool at catching tech rolls in, as the first move hits behind ZETTERBURN and then drags in front. Many players will instinctively roll in when they're near the edge of the stage, so you can catch them during those times. Forward Strong is a lunging attack that functions similarly to Down Strong, with a first weak hit that can carry opponents into the stronger second hit. The hitboxes look like this. First is a single hitbox from ZETTERBURN'S hand on frame 17, including pre-charge frames. Then it extends outwards into 3 longer hitboxes until finally retracting into 3 normal, arm-sized hitboxes as the move ends. The first dragon hit will deal 2%, and if you just hit with the late outermost hitbox, that will deal 8%. And once again, against a burned opponent, you can add about 8% in damage if you consume the burn with this move. Forward Strong has a lot of range and can similarly catch rolls from opponents, but it's the slowest normal move in ZETTERBURN'S kit, so it can be a bit predictable. Let's move on to ZETTERBURN'S aerials. Neutral Air consists of one singular hitbox on ZETTERBURN'S body as he spins in the air. It's active starting on frame 6 and has 4 windows of activity. The first 3 are active for 2 frames with 2 frame inactive periods and hit for 2% each, and the last hit is 3 frames long and hits for 3%. It has up to 12 frames of recovery plus an additional 9 frames of landing lag. There's not really much to this aerial, but it can lead to some cool pressure strings and pseudo drag down situations, and you can do some neat stuff with single hits if your opponent isn't on top of their defense. Up Air is a strong combo extender and off-the-top finisher for ZETTERBURN, consisting of a whopping 5 hitboxes where he swings both arms in an arc above his head. This one is pretty straightforward as well. The hitboxes just travel along his arms, and it doesn't really do much more than that. It has a sweet spot which deals 9% and is an excellent finisher, and the sour spot deals 5%. 8 frame startup, so it's active on frame 9, there's 4 active frames, then up to 16 frames of recovery plus 10 frames of landing lag. As expected, Up Air is naturally good at sharking opponents from below. It can pressure players on platforms, and it can be used as an extremely close-range starter for tilts and strongs. Down Air is ZETTERBURN'S Meteor. This move has 2 large hitboxes covering his whole body starting on frame 14, which then becomes a single hitbox on his head and arms in the following frame. Hitting Down Air places opponents into a state called Flinch Heavy, which basically just means you have a good amount of time to connect a follow-up move. It's a good move, and can be used for edgeguarding characters with weak recoveries, or at the very least forcing them to go low. Forward Air, in my opinion, is one of ZETTERBURN'S best aerials. The hitbox is absolutely massive. It leaves opponents in a ton of hit pause, and it can KO by itself since it hits so far. It's active for 3 frames starting on frame 11. On the first, there are 3 hitboxes on ZETTERBURN'S arm and body, then the second has 3 more hitboxes expanding around the arc of his swipe, and the final returns back to 3 hitboxes, but the outer 2 are a bit elongated as he completes his swing. The weak hitbox deals 6% while the strong hit does 9%, and the caveat to this move is that it's a bit slow and/or telegraphed. It has 18 frames of recovery and 10 frames of landing lag, but again, in my opinion, the pros certainly outweigh the cons. Many people consider this move akin to a Project M or Ultimate Wolf's Forward Air, and it's for good reason. This move is great, and it's a staple in pretty much everything ZETTERBURN does. Back Air is one of ZETTERBURN'S best enabling tools for burning opponents. ZETTERBURN swings his tail in an upwards arc behind himself, and it's uniquely the only non-special move in ZETTERBURN'S kit that inflicts burn, making it a scary cross-up tool as well as a great setup for a following up strong at medium percents. The move itself only deals 3%, but again, it applies the burn, so I guess you could say it's a functional 8% after the damage over time. It's active on frame 10 for 3 frames, and has 3 hitboxes along ZETTERBURN'S tail for the first and last active frames, and an additional hitbox along the travel path on the second. Also fun to note here that ZETTERBURN'S tail is invincible at all times, and that little tuft of fire at the end of it doesn't have a hurt box, so he can't get clipped there. So I suppose in the context of this move in particular, this does actually provide a small bit of disjoint, which is kinda cool. Anyway, next up are ZETTERBURN'S specials. ZETTERBURN'S neutral special is likely his most iconic move if you're coming from Smash. He quickly emits a small burst of fire around him, and you can hold the button to do a charge version, which is bigger, deals more damage, and has stronger knockback, or you can release it early to do a small one. Regardless of which burst you use, this move is a singular hitbox that sends opponents straight and away from ZETTERBURN. This move will feel the most different for Smash players, as ZETTERBURN'S neutral special functions almost identically to melee shine, but its button is assigned to neutral special instead of down special. Unlike Fox and Falco Shine, ZETTERBURN'S version is frame 2 and you can hold it to charge for longer, but like Fox and Falco Shine, you can jump cancel it. This allows you to perform some more advanced techniques of anything you could normally do from a jump, like wave dashing, strong attacks, grabbing, or just a plain old aerial. And as a reminder, all of ZETTERBURN'S specials will light opponents on fire when you hit with them, so this can become lethal very quickly. I spoke with Switch, Project M Wolf Extraordinaire, and he also asked me to mention that ZETTERBURN'S Shine very uniquely sends out from his center, so unlike Fox's, which sends at a fixed angle, depending on the side you hit on, this one can pop directly up, down, or anywhere in between. As I mentioned before, since Rivals of Aether 2 now has shields and grabs, this has made neutral special as a pressure tool significantly better. It is for sure a go-to move now when you want to crash onto someone's shield and make them sweat. Although it's a little bit easy to parry, ZETTERBURN has a useful projectile in the form of his forward special's Fireball. It is literally a fireball that travels in a straight line from where the input is made, and it's useful for pressuring or limiting an opponent's approach, recovery, or edgeguarding attempt. It travels pretty far too. I mean, it's no Falco laser, but this is definitely a good projectile. You can fireball right after short hopping, and if you time it correctly, Zetter can actually duck under a returning fireball if it's parried, which makes it a little bit safer. Here's what the hitbox looks like, and you guessed it, it's still a fireball. It's active on frame 16, so fairly reactable, especially at range, and it deals 2 damage on hit while also applying burn. Up special is ZETTERBURN'S recovery move, again most similar to a Fox or Falco up B. ZETTERBURN stops in place and covers his body in a singular hitbox which hits 7 times in 2-frame windows, and then can shoot in nearly any direction. The small burns, if you hit with all of them, deal 12%, and the final recovery hits for 5. You can input a dodge during the grounded pre-launch frames to cancel out of the startup and do something else, and like every other recovery in the game, this will put you in special fall after you input it. For ZETTERBURN'S down special, he slams his paw into the ground, which hits a wide area and leaves a patch of fire on the ground. This fire stays in place for 6 seconds and doesn't have a hurt box, but rather collision bubbles that will light opponents on fire if they touch it. If the move is used in the air, ZETTERBURN will dive downwards at an angle until he touches the ground, which will then deal the same damage and leave a fire behind like the grounded version. The aerial version of this move will also spike opponents, making it a pretty cute gimp option. It can be reversed at the beginning of your jump or right after it, and if you're off stage, you can cancel the dive with a wall jump or double jump, the double jump if you travel for 20 frames. The aerial version will also replenish ZETTERBURN'S double jump, much like Captain Falcon's Falcon Kick in Melee. The slam has 3 large hitboxes which are on his body and directly to ZETTERBURN'S left and right as you impact the ground, while the aerial version has 2 longer hitboxes along Zetter's head and arm as he descends. The dive hit deals 2% and the slam deals 7. You can cancel this move out of the air during the startup of it by pressing the shield button. This will make ZETTERBURN do a front flip animation where he rolls if he hits the ground. This is a useful mix-up and recovery option since it reduces the move's landing lag, but it can kill you if you do it off stage since you're put into special fall and therefore can't attack or recover until you touch the ground or wall jump. Also worth noting, but you can grab ledges with this canceled down special as well, which makes for some pretty neat edgeguarding mix-ups. And before we end, here are ZETTERBURN'S grabs, throws, and get-up options. There are 3 types of grabs in Rivals of Aether 2, standing grab, dash grab, and pivot grab, which across the cast each have longer range but more end lag. All grabs in the game are active for 2 frames, but each character has a varied startup. For ZETTERBURN, standing grab is active on frame 7, dash grab is active on frame 8, and pivot grab is active on frame 10. There are also 2 unique pummels in the game which introduce a bit of an RPS. Normal pummel and special pummel. Normal pummel will just deal damage, while special pummel will synergize in some way with the character's kit, but as a defender you do get some mix-ups here. If the player grabbing chooses to skip the pummel altogether and just throw, the defender will be immune to regrabs until they get hit or touch the ground. If the player grabbing uses a normal pummel, the defender can get regrabbed though. But if you're the one getting grabbed, you can guess which pummel will be used, and if you press the same button as your opponents, you'll break out of it. ZETTERBURN'S normal pummel is just a jab to the stomach. It's a singular hitbox that hits for a singular frame on frame 10 and deals 8%. ZETTERBURN'S special pummel is also a singular hitbox, but this time he headbutts his opponent, dealing 6% and applying the burn. This pummel can be a good way to set up for the aforementioned throw combos, which can get even more powerful when you're hitting strongs on a burned opponent. Now for Zetter's throws. His up throw is exactly as it seems. He punches the opponent up into the air. It has 3 hitboxes that look like this, is active on frame 11, and deals 4%. Up throw converts into aerials and strongs against some of the cast pretty well. Forward throw is ZETTERBURN'S KO throw. It inflicts a ton of knockback and is the only throw in ZETTERBURN'S kit which gets better if the opponent is on fire. This is the slowest and most reactable throw that ZETTERBURN has, being active on frame 32, but it's just a big old headbutt and it deals 6%. Like ZETTERBURN'S strongs, forward throwing an on-fire opponent will consume the burn and deal a bit more damage and knockback. For Zetter's back throw, he also casually casts the opponent aside and throws him behind. But in regards to hitboxes, there are none. He literally just throws the opponent, so yeah. This can set up for edgeguard opportunities offstage, but some players consider this his weakest throw. Finally, ZETTERBURN'S down throw hits on frame 12 and also has 3 hitboxes. This throw's hitbox is only active for 1 frame and it deals 4 damage, but it can be a good tool to set up tech chases at low to medium percents or convert into KOs at higher percents. Finally, we have ZETTERBURN'S get-up attacks and ledge attacks. ZETTERBURN'S normal get-up attack is an arm sweep across the floor. The hitboxes look like this. It's active on frame 16 for 7 frames and it deals 6%. ZETTERBURN'S special get-up attack is a longer button, first active on frame 37, but it's invincible during its startup. It has 3 hitboxes along his head and torso, the hit deals 7%, and at the end his arms spread out to create fire on either side of him, which of course burn the opponent if contacted. The fire, unlike his down special though, travels along the stage at a fixed speed until it reaches the end of the stage where it eventually goes out. ZETTERBURN'S normal ledge attack is a rather standard attack from the ledge where he swipes his claw up and down at the opponent. The move is active for 3 frames starting on frame 25, but ZETTERBURN retains invincibility through the move's active hitboxes. These hitboxes look like this, by the way, which were very similar to his dash attack. And finally, ZETTERBURN'S special ledge attack. If you haven't figured it out by now, this one also involves fire. Starting on frame 31, ZETTERBURN ignites himself and sets the stage ablaze while crawling back up. His entire body is covered by 1 large hitbox, which notably is not invincible while active, unlike his normal get-up attack, and it spawns fire onto the stage in the same way as his down special. This move is active for 10 frames and hits for 5%, while of course also leaving a trail of fire behind him. Whew, and that's it. ZETTERBURN is definitely a fun introductory character for new platform fighter players, or players who may have some experience with Smash titles already. I played a lot of him in the first Rivals of Aether, and he's been my most used character in this installment as well. If you're new to the game, first off, welcome, and second, give ZETTERBURN a try to get down some of the basics.
Also, did you know that ZETTERBURN'S fire?
Hey, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you still enjoyed this video even if it was a bit of a departure from the normal Melee stuff I do here. Like I said before, if you could let me know if you enjoyed the content and want to see more Rivals 2 over here, I'd really appreciate it. I'll for sure be commentating it more this year and next, and if I could do even a small part in helping to get more eyes on the game, that would be really cool. Thank you to my patrons who help make videos like these possible, especially Avishua Stein, Bobby Wasabi, Bold Italics, Eric is Cool, and NNG Esports. And if you'd like to help support me in making more videos like these, please feel free to contribute through the link in the description. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.